In the vast darkness between stars, where empires rise and fall like waves against cosmic shores, there exists a truth that few dare whisper. Some beings are not meant to be challenged. Princess Arthal of the Vorthak Empire learned this lesson too late when her casual dismissal of a seemingly ordinary human became the catalyst for events that would shake the very foundations of galactic civilization. What happens when absolute arrogance meets absolute power? When a princess who has never known defeat encounters a man who has never known mercy? The answer lies in blood, starlight, and the terrible realization that sometimes the most dangerous predators wear the most unassuming faces. This is the story of Marcus Kane, a name that would soon be whispered in the darkest corners of the galaxy, spoken only in hushed tones by those brave enough to acknowledge that death itself had taken human form and walked among the stars. The crystalline spires of Nexus Station pierce the void like frozen lightning, their surfaces reflecting the light of a dozen nearby stars. Within its gleaming corridors, representatives from across the galaxy conducted business, made deals, and pretended that the delicate balance of interstellar politics would hold for another day. The station served as neutral ground, a place where even the most bitter enemies could meet under the protection of ancient treaties and the watchful eyes of the Galactic Commerce Guild. Marcus Kane moved through these corridors like a shadow-given substance. His appearance was unremarkable by human standards. Average height, lean build, dark hair showing the first touches of gray at the temples, his clothes were simple, practical, the kind worn by mid-level traders and cargo haulers throughout the galaxy. Nothing about him suggested danger. Nothing hinted at the darkness that lived behind his calm gray eyes. He had come to Nexus Station for a simple transaction. The cargo manifest in his ship's hold listed agricultural equipment bound for the frontier world of Kepler 442b. The documentation was perfect, as always. The bribes had been paid to the right officials. The shipping company that employed him existed in 17 different databases across 9 systems, complete with a 40-year history of reliable service. Everything was a lie, meticulously crafted and maintained by an organization that had no official name and no official existence. Marcus paused at an observation deck, watching the endless stream of ships arriving and departing through the station's docking bays. Freighters heavy with cargo, sleek diplomatic vessels, massive passenger liners carrying tourists and immigrants to the outer worlds. Each ship represented lives, stories, dreams. He felt nothing as he watched them. He had learned long ago that feeling too much was a luxury his profession could not afford. Magnificent, isn't it? The voice came from behind him, melodious and tinged with an accent that spoke of aristocratic breeding. All of these lesser species, scurrying about their petty concerns, never realizing how small they truly are in the grand scheme of things. She was tall, perhaps 7 feet in height, with skin that seemed to shift between deep purple and midnight blue depending on the angle of the light. Her features were sharp, angular, beautiful in the way that predators were beautiful, elegant and deadly. The flowing robes she wore were woven from some material that seemed to contain actual starlight, shifting and glimmering with each movement. A crown of what appeared to be crystallized dark matter rested upon her brow, marking her as royalty among the Vorthak. "Princess Arathul," Marcus said, inclining his head slightly. "Your reputation precedes you." The alien princess smiled, revealing teeth like polished obsidian. "As does yours, Marcus Kane. Though I must admit I expected someone more impressive. The infamous ghost of the Outer Rim, reduced to a common cargo hauler. How the mighty have fallen." Marcus said nothing, simply meeting her gaze with those calm gray eyes. The princess seemed to take his silence as permission to continue. "I have a proposition for you, human. My intelligence network has informed me of your true nature, your real profession. Despite your current, diminished circumstances, I believe you might prove useful to me. I'm listening." Zarathal moved closer, her movements fluid and predatory. "There is a man named General Thane Cortez, a human like yourself. He commands the military forces of the Terran Colonial Defense Force in the Epsilon sector. This man has become a thorn in my side, interfering with certain business interests of mine. I want him removed. And you think I'm the man for the job? Perhaps. Though I have my doubts. You see, General Cortez is no ordinary target. He is a decorated war hero, protected by some of the finest soldiers in human space. His fortress world of HFY Prime is considered impregnable. Many have tried to eliminate him. All have failed. She paused, studying Marcus with those predatory eyes. To be perfectly honest, I don't believe you'll make it past his outer defenses. But I'm willing to pay well for the attempt. The offer was substantial, enough credits to buy a small fleet of ships or a comfortable retirement on any of 100 worlds. More than enough to complete the mission that had brought Marcus to this sector of space. He considered the proposal carefully, weighing variables and calculating odds as he had been trained to do. There would be conditions, he said finally. Name them. Full intelligence package on the target and his security arrangements, clean extraction route, and payment in advance. Zarathal laughed, the sound like wind chimes made of broken glass. How refreshingly honest. Most assassins insist they work for noble causes or claim they're merely soldiers following orders. You, at least, admit what you are. And what am I? A killer for hire. A man whose conscience was sold long ago to the highest bidder. A ghost of what humanity could have been if your species hadn't proven so disappointingly weak. She gestured dismissively. But perhaps that weakness will serve my purposes. Cortez will underestimate you as I am doing now. It might give you the edge you need. Marcus absorbed the insult without reaction. He had heard worse and from better people than this alien aristocrat. When do you need it done? The general will be attending a military conference on HFY Prime in 2 weeks. Security will be heightened, but it also presents an opportunity. Many ships will be coming and going. One more trader delivering supplies won't attract attention. She produced a small data crystal, holding it between 2 elegant fingers. Everything you need to know is on here. Payment will be transferred to your accounts within the hour. Marcus accepted the crystal, feeling its slight weight in his palm. Such a small thing to contain the details of a man's life and death. And if I succeed, then you'll have earned my respect, human, and perhaps more lucrative work in the future. The Vorthak Empire is always in need of specialists. Her smile turned predatory. But I doubt it will come to that. Men like you are useful but ultimately expendable. Cortez will kill you, and I'll find another way to solve my problem. Perhaps, Marcus said quietly. Something in his tone made the princess pause, her arrogant confidence faltering for just a moment. For an instant, she seemed to see something in those calm gray eyes that gave her pause. But the moment passed, and her smile returned. Do try to make it interesting, she said, turning away. I so enjoy hearing about the creative deaths of would-be assassins. Marcus watched her go, noting the way her guards fell into step around her, the casual arrogance with which she dismissed everyone in her path as beneath her notice. He waited until she was out of sight before looking down at the data crystal in his hand. Princess Zarethal had made several critical errors in their brief conversation. She had revealed more than she intended about her intelligence network and her business interests. She had shown contempt not just for him, but for humanity in general. And most importantly, she had assumed that because he looked unremarkable, because he played the role of a simple trader, that he was somehow less than what he truly was. Marcus pocketed the crystal and began walking back toward his ship. He had work to do, preparations to make. The mission he had originally come to complete would have to wait. Princess Zarethal had just made herself a priority target, though she didn't know it yet. As he walked through the station's corridors, Marcus allowed himself a small, cold smile. The alien princess was about to learn a lesson that countless others had learned before her, usually too late to do them any good. The most dangerous predators were those that didn't look dangerous at all. Behind him, unnoticed and unremarked, the shadows seemed to grow a little deeper, a little darker, and in those shadows death itself had begun to stir, awakening from its patient slumber to walk once more among the stars. The freighter, Wandering Star, drifted through the void between systems, its hull scarred by countless journeys through asteroid fields and cosmic debris. To any casual observer, it appeared to be exactly what its registration claimed, an aging cargo hauler making another routine run to the frontier world. The ship's transponder broadcast legitimate identification codes, its manifest listed standard agricultural equipment, and its captain had filed all the proper flight plans with the appropriate authorities. None of it was real. Marcus Kane stood in what appeared to be the ship's cargo hold, but his fingers found hidden switches that transformed the space around him. Bulkheads slid back to reveal weapon racks. Floor panels lifted to expose ammunition storage. The innocent-looking crates of farming equipment unfolded into sophisticated surveillance gear and battlefield communication systems. Within minutes, the humble freighter had been revealed for what it truly was, a mobile arsenal disguised as civilian transport. He moved through the weapons with the familiarity of long practice, selecting items for the mission ahead. A sniper rifle designed by human military engineers, its barrel capable of punching through armor plating at 3 kilometers, explosive charges no larger than coins, each containing enough destructive force to level a city block. A tactical suit that could bend light around its wearer, rendering them nearly invisible to both optical and electronic surveillance. But these were merely tools. The real weapon was Marcus himself, decades of training, experience, and something darker that lived in the spaces between his thoughts. He had been many things in his life: soldier, spy, assassin, and eventually something beyond all three. The organization that had created him had no official name, but those who knew of its existence called it Section 0, a black ops unit so classified that its operatives were officially dead, their identities erased from every database in human space. Marcus Kane had died on a battlefield on Proxima Centauri 15 years ago, according to the records. The man who wore his face and carried his memories was something else entirely. A ghost given flesh and purpose, trained to eliminate threats to humanity that conventional forces could never touch. The data crystal Princess Zaratul had given him contained more information than she had intended. Her intelligence network was impressive, but it had gaps. They knew about some of his past operations, but not all of them. They knew he was dangerous, but not how dangerous. Most importantly, they had no idea why he was really in this sector of space. 6 months ago, Section 0 had intercepted communications suggesting that someone was supplying advanced weapons technology to the Kithara Collective, a militant alien faction that had been raiding human colonies in the Outer Rim. The weapons were clearly of human origin, but modified with alien improvements that made them devastating against human defenses. Entire settlements had been wiped out by raiders using these hybrid weapons. The trail had led Marcus through a dozen systems, following a web of black market dealers, corrupt officials, and shadow corporations. And now, at the center of that web, he had found Princess Zarathul of the Vorthak Empire. Her family controlled vast shipping networks throughout this sector. Her business interests included weapons manufacturing, military contracts, and significant investments in mining operations on human colony worlds, all of it legitimate on the surface, all of it perfectly positioned to funnel weapons to humanity's enemies. But Marcus needed proof. And more than that, he needed to understand the full scope of the conspiracy. How many other alien factions were involved? How many human officials had been bought or threatened into cooperation? The princess had just handed him the perfect opportunity to get close to her operation and gather the intelligence Section 0 needed. General Thane Cortez was indeed a problem for Princess Zarathul, but not for the reasons she had suggested. Marcus had reviewed the man's file during the journey to HFY Prime. Cortez was a genuine war hero, a man who had spent his career fighting to protect human colonies from alien aggression. More relevantly, his forces had been increasingly effective at intercepting weapons shipments in the Epsilon sector. He was disrupting the princess's business, making her conspiracy more difficult to maintain. Marcus had no intention of killing General Cortez. Instead, he planned to use the assassination contract as cover for his real mission, gathering enough evidence to expose the entire network and deliver it to Cortez himself. It would require delicate timing and considerable risk, but it was the most efficient way to serve Section Zero's objectives. The ship's computer chimed softly, indicating their approach to the Aegis system. Marcus sealed the weapon compartments and restored the cargo hold to its innocent appearance. On the surface, he remained Marcus Kane, independent trader. But underneath, the ghost was stirring, preparing for the deadly game ahead. Aegis Prime dominated the main display as they dropped out of hyperspace, a fortress world that had been carved and shaped by human engineering into an impregnable military stronghold. Massive orbital defense platforms surrounded the planet like a steel constellation. Patrol ships moved in complex patterns between them, their sensors sweeping space for any sign of threat. The planet's surface was visible through gaps in the defensive grid, showing sprawling military installations, training facilities, and the heavily fortified cities that housed the families of the soldiers stationed there. Marcus activated the communication system and broadcast his approach vector to traffic control. Within moments, a crisp military voice responded, "Freighter Wandering Star, this is Aegis Control. Please state your business and prepare for inspection." Aegis Control, this is Captain Kane of the Wandering Star. I'm carrying agricultural equipment for the civilian settlements on Kepler 44-B. My manifest shows a scheduled refueling stop at your station. Confirmed, Captain Kane. Proceed to Docking Bay 77 Alpha. Maintain minimum speed and prepare for security inspection upon arrival. The inspection was thorough but routine. Marcus had expected nothing less from a military installation of this importance. His documentation was flawless, his cargo exactly what the manifest claimed. The inspection team found nothing suspicious because there was nothing for them to find. Marcus had left all of his specialized equipment in hidden compartments that would require dismantling the ship to discover. While the security teams worked, Marcus studied the station around him. Aegis Station was a marvel of human engineering. Massive rotating sections that provided artificial gravity, redundant life support systems, defensive positions that could withstand sustained assault. But more than that, it was home to thousands of people. Soldiers and their families, civilian support staff, children playing in the station's recreation areas. These were the people Section Zero existed to protect. Not the politicians or the corporate executives or the military leaders, but ordinary humans trying to live their lives in a hostile galaxy. Marcus had seen what happened to colonies that fell to alien raiders. He had walked through settlements where the only sounds were the wind through broken buildings and the buzz of scavenger insects. He would not allow that fate to befall anyone else if he could prevent it. The inspection concluded without incident, and Marcus was granted permission to remain docked for 48 hours. He made his way to the station's civilian quarters, where he had booked a modest room under his trader identity. The military conference Princess Zarathal had mentioned was indeed taking place. He could see the increased security, the arrival of transport ships carrying officers from across the sector. General Cortez would be attending, along with dozens of other high-ranking military personnel. Marcus spent the evening in the station's civilian lounge, nursing a synthetic whiskey and listening to conversations around him. The talk was of shipping delays, supply shortages, and the growing threat of alien raids in the outer systems. Families worried about relatives on frontier worlds. Merchants complained about increased security measures affecting their business. Soldiers spoke quietly of losses and the friends who wouldn't be coming home. As the night progressed, Marcus noticed patterns in the conversations, specific shipping routes that had been hit by raiders, weapons signatures that didn't match known alien technology, supply convoys that had vanished without a trace. The pieces of Princess Artul's conspiracy were scattered throughout the casual talk of ordinary people, visible only to someone who knew what to look for. Near midnight, Marcus retired to his quarters and began his real preparations. Tomorrow, he would attend the military conference as Marcus Kane, trader. But tonight, he would become something else, a predator stalking through the shadows of human civilization, hunting those who would destroy it from within. The ghost was awakening, and Princess Zarathul had no idea what she had truly set in motion. She thought she was hiring a simple assassin to eliminate a troublesome general. Instead, she had given Section Zero's most dangerous operative direct access to the heart of her conspiracy. By morning, the hunt would begin in earnest. The military conference began at 0800 hours in Aegis Station's main briefing amphitheater, a circular chamber designed to accommodate representatives from across the Epsilon sector. Holographic displays surrounded the central speaking area, showing star maps, threat assessments, and real-time intelligence updates. Marcus Kane sat in the civilian observer section, his trader credentials granting him access to monitor discussions that might affect commercial shipping in the region. General Thane Cortez commanded attention the moment he entered the chamber. He was a man in his early 50s, bearing the scars and bearing of someone who had spent decades in active combat. His uniform was immaculate but practical, decorated with ribbons that told the story of a career spent defending humanity's frontier. When he spoke, even the most senior officers listened with respect. "Ladies and gentlemen," Cortez began, his voice carrying clearly through the amphitheater, "we are facing a crisis that threatens the stability of this entire sector. In the past 6 months, we have lost 17 colony ships, 43 supply convoys, and an estimated 30,000 civilians to what intelligence services are classifying as enhanced radar activity." The holographic displays shifted to show attack patterns, weapon signatures, and casualty reports. Marcus studied the data carefully, noting details that confirmed his suspicions about the conspiracy he was tracking. The raiders weren't just better organized. They were using weapons specifically designed to counter human defensive systems. "The enemy has evolved," Cortez continued. "They are no longer content with simple piracy or territory raids. These attacks show signs of sophisticated planning, advanced intelligence gathering, and access to weapons technology that should be impossible for them to obtain." A colonel from the 5th Fleet raised her hand. "General, our technical analysis suggests these weapons are based on human designs but modified with alien improvements. How is that possible?" Marcus watched Cortez's expression carefully as he answered. "That's the question that keeps me awake at night, Colonel Martinez. Someone is providing our enemies with classified human weapons technology, someone with access to our most sensitive military research. We have a traitor in our midst, and until we identify them, every human settlement in this sector remains at risk." The conference continued for 3 hours, with officers reporting on defensive preparations, intelligence gathering efforts, and resource allocation. Marcus absorbed every detail, building a comprehensive picture of the military's understanding of the threat they faced. They knew they had been betrayed, but they had no idea how extensive the conspiracy really was. During a break in the proceedings, Marcus approached General Cortez directly. The general was standing alone near one of the holographic displays, studying casualty reports with the expression of a man who felt personally responsible for every name on the list. "General Cortez," Marcus said, offering his hand. "Marcus Kane, independent trader. I wonder if I might have a word with you." Cortez looked up, his sharp eyes taking in Marcus's appearance and demeanor. "Mr. Kane, what can I do for you? I've been working routes through the Outer Rim for the past several months. I've seen some things that might be relevant to your investigation." Marcus kept his voice low, professional. "The shipping patterns that don't make sense. Cargo manifests that don't match what's actually being transported. Officials who ask the wrong questions or show interest in the wrong details." "Go on." Marcus produced a datapad containing carefully selected information, shipping records he had compiled during his investigation, evidence of suspicious activity that painted a picture without revealing his true knowledge or sources. "I think someone is using legitimate shipping companies as cover for weapons smuggling. The pattern is subtle, but it's there if you know what to look for." Cortez accepted the datapad and scrolled through the information. His expression grew increasingly grim as he absorbed the implications. "This is extensive. You've documented activity across 7 different systems. How long have you been tracking this?" "Several months. I started noticing irregularities when my usual routes were disrupted by increased security sweeps. At first I thought it was just bad luck, but the pattern became too consistent to ignore." Marcus paused, watching the general's reaction. I think whoever is behind this has been planning it for years. Why bring this to me instead of colonial security? Because some of the officials I flagged as suspicious work for colonial security. This conspiracy reaches into multiple branches of government and military command. You're one of the few people in a position to act on this information who I'm confident isn't compromised. Cortez studied Marcus for a long moment, his combat-trained instincts clearly evaluating threat and opportunity. You're not really just a traitor, are you, Mr. Webb? Kane? I'm someone who cares about human survival in a hostile galaxy, Marcus replied, which was true enough. And I'm someone who recognizes that good people sometimes need help fighting enemies they can't see coming. The general read it quickly, his expression darkening further. There's been another attack. The mining colony on Titan's Rest. Preliminary report suggests complete destruction. Marcus felt a cold anger settle in his chest. Titan's Rest housed over 50,000 people, miners, their families, support staff. If the pattern held, none of them had survived. The weapons Princess Zaratul was providing to humanity's enemies had claimed another settlement. General, Marcus said quietly, I may be able to help you find the people responsible, but I'll need your trust and your willingness to operate outside normal channels. What exactly are you proposing? Marcus glanced around the chamber, noting the various officers and officials attending the conference. Some of them might be honest patriots, others could be compromised, bought, or threatened into serving alien interests. In a conspiracy this extensive, traditional military channels couldn't be trusted. I propose we set a trap, Marcus said. Let me make contact with the people I suspect are behind this. I'll present myself as a potential asset, someone with access to shipping routes and cargo manifests who might be useful to their operation. If I can get close enough to their leadership, I can gather the evidence needed to expose the entire network. That's incredibly dangerous. If they discover your true intentions, they'll kill me, Marcus finished. Yes, I understand the risks. But General, how many more colonies are you willing to lose while we try to gather evidence through conventional means? Cortez was quiet for several minutes, weighing options and calculating odds with the skill of a man who had spent his career making life-and-death decisions. Finally, he nodded slowly. What do you need from me? Information, access, and a promise that when I deliver evidence of treason, you'll act on it regardless of how high up the conspiracy reaches. You have my word. Marcus produced a secure communication device from his jacket, a piece of technology that was more advanced than anything a simple traitor should possess. Use this to contact me. The encryption is military grade and the signal will be untraceable. Whatever happens, don't trust anyone else with knowledge of our arrangement. As Marcus prepared to leave, Cortez caught his arm. Mr. Kane, Marcus, whoever you really are, why are you doing this? Thinking of the children he had seen playing in Aegis Station's recreation areas, of the families whose conversations he had overheard in the civilian lounge, of the 50,000 people who had died on Titan's Rest while he sat in comfortable meetings with alien aristocrats. Because someone has to, he said simply, and sometimes the people best equipped to stop monsters are the ones who know how to be monsters themselves. That evening, Marcus returned to his ship and began preparations for the next phase of his mission. He composed a carefully worded message to Princess Arathel, reporting his arrival at Aegis Prime and his initial observations of General Cortez's security arrangements. The message was designed to maintain his cover while subtly encouraging the princess to reveal more about her operation. But Marcus also made other preparations. He activated deep cover communication protocols, sending coded messages to Section 0 operatives throughout the sector. The hunt was about to begin in earnest, and he would need support from the shadows when the time came to strike. Princess Zarathal had hired him to kill one man. Instead, she had given him the access and motivation he needed to destroy her entire conspiracy. She had thought she was dealing with a simple assassin for hire, someone desperate enough to take impossible contracts for the right price. She was about to learn that some weapons, once unleashed, could not be controlled or recalled, and Marcus Kane was a weapon that had been forged in the darkest corners of human ambition. tempered by loss and necessity and aimed at the heart of those who would destroy his species. The ghost was fully awake now, and the hunt had begun. The message from Princess Sarithal arrived 3 days after the military conference, transmitted through encrypted channels that revealed more about her network's sophistication than she likely intended. Marcus read it aboard his freighter as he drifted between systems, ostensibly heading toward his next trading destination, but actually positioning himself for the trap he was about to spring. "Mr. Kane," the message began. "Your initial report regarding General Cortez's security measures has been reviewed by my associates. They are impressed by the quality of your intelligence gathering. There may be opportunities for expanded cooperation between us. Proceed to the coordinates included with this transmission. Come alone. Your continued discretion and success in our current arrangement will determine the scope of future employment." The coordinates led to a system Marcus knew well from his Section 0 briefings. A region of space officially designated as uninhabited, but actually serving as a meeting point for various criminal and insurgent organizations. The system contained a rogue planet, ejected from its original star system eons ago and now drifting cold and dark through interstellar space. But that planet harbored secrets, a massive underground facility that served as a neutral trading post for those who operated outside galactic law. Marcus set course for the rendezvous, his ship sensors automatically adjusting to track the minimal heat signatures that would guide him to the hidden docking facilities. As he approached the rogue planet, he activated the specialized communication equipment hidden in his ship's hull, sending brief-coded transmissions to Section 0 operatives positioned throughout the system. The trap was being set, with Marcus as the bait and an entire network of ghosts as the hunters. The underground facility was more extensive than the intelligence reports had suggested. Carved from solid rock and powered by geothermal energy, it stretched for kilometers beneath the planet's frozen surface. The main trading floor was a vast cavern filled with beings from dozens of different species, all conducting business that would be illegal in every civilized system in the galaxy. Marcus made his way through the crowd, noting weapons dealers, slave traders, information brokers, and worse. His trader's clothing and unremarkable appearance allowed him to blend in, just another human seeking profit in the darkest corners of civilization. But his trained eye cataloged security measures, escape routes, and potential threats with the automatic precision of a predator surveying new hunting grounds. Princess Sarithal was waiting for him in a private chamber overlooking the trading floor, her alien beauty made more striking by the contrast with the crude surroundings. She was not alone. 3 other figures sat at the crystalline table with her. Marcus recognized them from his intelligence files. Admiral Voss of the Human Colonial Navy, Director Chen of the Frontier Mining Consortium, and a Kithara war leader whose species had been raiding human settlements for the past decade. "Mr. Kane," the princess said, gesturing for him to take an empty chair. "Allow me to introduce my business partners. I believe you'll find our little enterprise quite fascinating." Admiral Voss was the first to speak, his voice bitter with decades of accumulated resentment. "Do you know what it's like, trader, to spend 30 years defending colonies that barely acknowledge your existence? To watch politicians cut military budgets while demanding impossible results? To see good soldiers die for settlements that consider the military a necessary evil to be tolerated rather than honored?" Marcus said nothing, allowing the man to reveal himself through his words. "The Frontier Mining Consortium offered me a different path," Voss continued. "Profitable cooperation instead of thankless service. Why should I continue protecting colonies that would rather spend money on entertainment complexes than defense systems?" Director Chen leaned forward, her cybernetic enhancements glinting in the chamber's low light. "The resources of the Outer Rim belong to those with the vision and strength to claim them, Mr. Kane. Human colonial governments are weak, divided, more concerned with political correctness than survival. We represent efficiency. We take what we need and eliminate obstacles to progress." The Kithara war leader remained silent, but its presence spoke volumes. The raiders weren't just random attackers. They were a weapon aimed at human settlements by human traders seeking to profit from their own species' destruction. Princess Sarithal smiled with predatory satisfaction. As you can see, our enterprise is quite sophisticated. Admiral Voss provides intelligence on military movements and defensive capabilities. Director Chen identifies the most valuable targets and provides logistical support. Our Kithara friend leads the actual raids, and I coordinate everything while providing the weapons technology that makes it all possible. And my role in this? Marcus asked. You would serve as our eyes and ears among the independent traders, the princess replied. Your access to shipping manifests and trade routes would help us identify high-value targets while avoiding unnecessary military attention. In return, you would receive a percentage of profits from each successful operation. Marcus pretended to consider the offer, his mind racing through the implications of what he was hearing. This wasn't just weapons smuggling. It was systematic genocide, conducted by humans against their own species for profit. The scope of the betrayal was staggering. The pay would be substantial, Admiral Voss added. More than you could make in a lifetime of legitimate trading. All we require is loyalty and discretion. And what happens to those who prove indiscreet? Marcus asked quietly. The Kithara war leader spoke for the first time, its voice a harsh rasp that had been augmented with translation technology. They feed the void, their ships drift empty. Their names are forgotten. Quite so, Princess Zarathal agreed. But I don't think you'll have such problems, Mr. Kane. You strike me as a practical man who understands the realities of survival in a hostile galaxy. Marcus nodded slowly as if accepting the logic of their argument. When would you need me to begin? Immediately. There is a supply convoy scheduled to depart from the Kepler system tomorrow. Military escort but minimal. Cargo includes medical supplies bound for 3 different colonies. If that convoy were to encounter difficulties, the resulting shortage would force the colonial governments to increase their dependence on consortium mining operations. Thousands of people would die without those medical supplies, Marcus observed. Director Chen shrugged. Thousands of people die every day throughout the galaxy. The only difference is whether their deaths serve a purpose or occur randomly. We prefer purpose. Marcus felt the cold anger building in his chest, but he kept his expression neutral. I'll need detailed information about the convoy's route and escort composition. Of course. Princess Zarathal produced another data crystal. Everything you need is here, including communication frequencies that will allow you to coordinate with our Kithara forces when the time comes. As Marcus accepted the crystal, his fingers brushed against a hidden control on his sleeve. The gesture activated a recording device so small and sophisticated that even the advanced sensors in this facility would not detect it. Every word spoken in this chamber was now being transmitted to Section 0 operatives positioned throughout the system. But the recording was only the beginning. Princess Zarathal and her co-conspirators were about to learn that they had invited a predator into their midst, one who had spent years perfecting the art of hunting in the shadows. There is one more thing, the princess said as the meeting began to conclude. General Cortez, have you made progress on eliminating him? I've identified several potential opportunities, Marcus replied. His security is formidable, but not perfect. I should have a resolution within the week. Excellent. The general's interference with our operations has become intolerable. His removal will send a clear message to other would-be heroes. As Marcus left the underground facility, he felt the weight of what he had learned. The conspiracy was worse than Section 0 had suspected. Not just weapons smuggling, but a coordinated campaign to weaken human defenses while profiting from the destruction of human settlements. Admiral Voss's betrayal had given the raiders access to classified military intelligence. Director Chen's mining consortium was positioning itself to claim the resources of dead colonies, and Princess Zarathal was coordinating everything from her position in the Vorthak Empire. But now, Marcus had evidence, names, places, recordings of admissions that would convict them all in any human court. The hunt was entering its final phase, and the predators were about to become prey. As his ship departed the rogue planet, Marcus activated secure communication protocols. The message he sent was brief but comprehensive. Target identification confirmed, evidence gathered, request immediate operational support. Section 0 would mobilize its resources throughout the sector, preparing for the coordinated strikes that would dismantle the conspiracy once and for all. Princess Zarathal had made the same mistake so many before her had made. She had assumed that because Marcus looked harmless, he was harmless. She had invited death itself to sit at her table and share in her secrets. Now she would learn the price of such arrogance. The ghost was ready to strike, and when he did, the galaxy would remember why humanity had survived in a universe filled with those who wished them dead. The strike began at 030 hours, coordinated across 17 different star systems simultaneously. Section 0 operatives who had been positioning themselves for weeks suddenly emerged from the shadows, their targets marked and their missions clear. Admiral Voss was arrested aboard his flagship while reviewing raid plans. Director Chen was taken from her corporate headquarters on New Geneva, her cybernetic enhancements disabled by electromagnetic pulse weapons before she could trigger any hidden defenses. Kithara raider bases throughout the sector found themselves under assault by ships that seemed to materialize from nowhere, crewed by humans whose existence was officially denied. But Princess Zarathul was Marcus Kane's target, and he had chosen to handle her personally. The Vorthak princess was aboard her private yacht when Marcus arrived, a vessel that rivaled some military cruisers in its size and defensive capabilities. She had been preparing to depart for her home system, confident that her latest meeting with the human traitors had secured her position and expanded her profitable conspiracy. Her ship's sensors detected the approaching freighter but dismissed it as irrelevant, just another cargo hauler making its way through commercial shipping lanes. Marcus had abandoned all pretense now. The wandering star shed its disguised exterior like a snake shedding its skin, revealing the predatory vessel that lay beneath. Weapons systems that had been hidden behind false bulkheads emerged into the light. Engines that had been deliberately throttled to civilian specifications roared to full military power. The humble trader ship transformed into something that belonged in the nightmares of those who threatened humanity. Princess Zarathul's yacht attempted to flee when its sensors finally registered the true nature of the approaching vessel, but it was already too late. Marcus had studied the ship's specifications during his investigation, had identified its weaknesses, and planned his approach accordingly. Precisely targeted shots from his concealed weapons disabled the yacht's engines and communication array without breaching its hull. He wanted the princess alive for what came next. The boarding operation was swift and merciless. Marcus moved through the yacht's corridors like a force of nature, his stealth suit rendering him nearly invisible while his weapons eliminated the princess's bodyguards with surgical precision. These were not human soldiers fighting for their homes and families. They were mercenaries who had sold their loyalty to the highest bidder. Marcus felt no regret as they fell before his advance. He found Princess Zarathul in her private chamber surrounded by the luxurious trappings of alien nobility. She had attempted to activate some form of emergency beacon, but Marcus's electronic warfare systems had disabled all external communications. She was alone, trapped, and for the first time in her privileged life facing genuine consequences for her actions. "Marcus Kane," she said, her voice maintaining its aristocratic composure despite the fear in her alien eyes. "I should have known. You played your part so convincingly that I almost believed you were what you appeared to be." "I am exactly what I appeared to be," Marcus replied, his voice calm and cold. "I'm someone who kills people who threaten human survival. The only difference is that I'm better at it than you imagined. You cannot simply murder me. I am royalty of the Vorthak Empire. My death would be considered an act of war." Marcus moved closer, allowing her to see the expression in his gray eyes, empty of mercy, filled with something that made predators into prey. "Your death will be considered justice. You have participated in the murder of hundreds of thousands of human beings. You have sold weapons to raiders who slaughtered children. You have corrupted human officials and turned them against their own species. Your royal blood does not grant you immunity from the consequences of genocide." Princess Zarathul backed away from him, her alien features twisted with a fear she had never experienced before. "You don't understand. This is bigger than you know. The Vorthak Empire has agreements with other alien factions, a coordinated plan to limit human expansion into the galaxy. My operations were just one small part of a larger strategy. Tell me about this strategy. A dozen different alien civilizations, all united by a common fear of human potential. Humans expand too quickly, adapt too readily, survive in environments that would kill other species. Left unchecked, your kind would eventually dominate the galaxy. So we formed an alliance to contain you. Economic manipulation, political corruption, military sabotage, strategic cultivation of human divisions. Whatever it takes to keep humanity weak and divided, Marcus absorbed this information, his expression unchanged. He had suspected that the conspiracy reached beyond Princess Zarathol's personal operation, but the scope of what she was describing was staggering. A galactic alliance dedicated to preventing human expansion, working through corruption and betrayal rather than open warfare. You're describing a conspiracy that spans multiple alien civilizations, Marcus said. Coordination on that scale would require extensive communication networks, shared intelligence operations, and significant resources. Give me details. Princess Zarathul laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Why would I tell you anything more? You've already decided to kill me. At least let me die knowing that you'll never uncover the full scope of what you're fighting against. Marcus reached into his jacket and withdrew a small device that the princess didn't recognize. It was a neural interface probe, a piece of technology so classified that its existence was known only to the highest levels of Section 0 command. The device could extract information directly from a subject's brain, bypassing conscious control and revealing even deeply buried memories. You're going to tell me everything, Marcus said quietly. The only question is whether you do it voluntarily or whether I extract the information from your neural pathways directly. I should warn you that the extraction process is unpleasant. The princess's composure finally cracked. You're a monster. No civilized species would create weapons like you. You're absolutely right, Marcus agreed. Civilized species create philosophers and artists and teachers. Monsters create soldiers like me. But here's what you never understood, Princess. Sometimes monsters are necessary. Sometimes the only way to protect civilization is to unleash something that exists outside of it. Over the next hour, Princess Zarathul told Marcus everything she knew. The scope of the alien alliance was indeed vast, involving not just the Vorthak Empire, but a dozen other major civilizations. They had been working for centuries to limit human expansion, manipulating markets, corrupting officials, and providing support to any faction that would fight against human interests. The weapons smuggling operation was just one of many strategies they employed. But Marcus also learned something else. The aliens were afraid. Despite their technological advantages and their coordinated efforts, they were losing. Humanity continued to expand, to adapt, to overcome every obstacle placed in their path. The conspiracy was born not from strength, but from desperation, a last attempt to contain a species that had proven impossible to destroy. When Princess Zarathul had told him everything she knew, Marcus made his final decision. He activated a communication beacon that would broadcast the princess's confession throughout the sector, ensuring that every human military installation and colonial government would receive the evidence of the conspiracy. Then he set charges throughout the yacht that would destroy it completely, erasing any trace of alien technology that might be used against humanity. You said I wouldn't make it, Marcus told the princess as he prepared to leave. You were wrong, she called out as he reached the chamber's exit. What happens now? Will you simply leave me here to die? Marcus turned back to face her, his expression as empty as the void between stars. Princess, you participated in genocide. You helped murder entire human settlements. Children died because of weapons you provided to raiders. Families were destroyed because of intelligence you gave to our enemies. Did you think there would be no consequences for that? But I told you everything. I cooperated, and that information will save human lives, but it doesn't change what you've already done. Marcus paused at the threshold, his voice carrying the finality of judgment. You declared that I wouldn't make it, unaware that you were speaking to death incarnate. Now you know the truth. Some people are beyond redemption, and some crimes demand absolute justice. Marcus left the yacht and returned to his ship, watching from a safe distance as the charges he had planted reduced the vessel to expanding plasma and debris. Princess Sarathal's final screams were lost in the silence of space, unheard and unmourned. Across the sector, the coordinated strikes by Section 0 operatives were achieving similar success. The human traitors who had sold out their own species were being arrested or eliminated. Alien weapons caches were being destroyed. Communication networks used by the conspiracy were being dismantled. The galactic alliance that had worked for centuries to contain humanity was being systematically exposed and neutralized. But Marcus knew this was only the beginning. Princess Zaratel's confession had revealed the existence of a threat that spanned multiple civilizations and reached into the highest levels of galactic politics. Section 0 would need to adapt its methods and expand its operations to counter such a vast conspiracy. As his ship headed back toward human space, Marcus composed his final report to Section 0 Command. The immediate threat had been neutralized, but the war for humanity's survival in a hostile galaxy was far from over. There would be other conspiracies to uncover, other traitors to eliminate, other aliens who thought they could manipulate or destroy the human species. They would all learn the same lesson Princess Arathel had learned too late. Humanity had survived in a universe filled with predators by becoming the ultimate predator. Those who threatened human survival would face the consequences, delivered by ghosts who walked among the stars and brought death to those who deserved it. The galaxy was vast and full of enemies, but it was also full of humans who would never stop fighting for their species' future. And in the darkest corners of that galaxy, weapons like Marcus Kane waited patiently in the shadows, ready to remind the universe why humanity could not be destroyed. Princess Zaratul had declared that he wouldn't make it, unaware that she was speaking to Death Incarnate. She had learned the truth too late to save herself, but her fate would serve as a warning to others who might consider threatening humanity's future. The ghost had completed his mission, but the hunt would continue as long as enemies of humanity drew breath among the stars. The alien princess declared, "You won't make it," unaware he was Death Incarnate. HFY Stories, Best HFY.